Okay, guys, now we've got this awesome selfie, and now we just want to make it look even better. Well, how do you make something look better on an editor? This is normally where we would take it inside of Photoshop and we start to do some things like that. But there are some really cool online tools that you can use. And so the one we're going to use today is this one that you're looking at your screen right now called Pixlr. And specifically, Pixlr does a lot of things that Photoshop does, a lot of things that photo editing software programs do, but it's free. It's online. There may be some ads that pop up, but I'm really happy with the way that it looks so far. So here's what we do. We've got your screen right here, right? You can see everything that's going on there. And we want to click on this thing right here where it's, open image, right? So I already got my image. I opened it up or I took it and I emailed it to myself. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to recent right here. And you can see a little tiny little thumbnail there, but this is the one I want. Okay, I have this great selfie I took at Disneyland last year when we were able to go. And that says pre-size image. It says the image you selected is very large. So it's a big one. So you guys working with your cell phones, they take really large images. They're fantastic. And sometimes they're too big. Like we don't want all sorts of megabytes and all sorts of things when we don't need anything that's too big. All that does is slow your computer down and all that. So you can resize it before you start to save on memory and minimize lag. And that's really what we want. So my thought is originally it's 3,000 pixels on the side there. And we'll talk about pixels later on. We can go max full HD or go full HD, which makes it so it's a maximum width of 1920. So why don't we do that one right there, right in the middle there. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to click on apply. And that'll take that photograph and open it up. Okay. So here's an ad right there, but that's okay. My ad blocker is blocking it. So here's my photograph, right? Let me turn off my focus there. So there's my photograph. Got California Adventure in the background. So now I want to make it look better. So how can I do that? Well, what I want to do first is I want to start making sure that I'm looking at things the way that I want to look at them. So I want to make sure that I can zoom in when I want to and zoom out when I don't need to and all that. So if you take a look at this, we got properties, we got arrange, we got crop, we got cutout, all these things that you see on there. But what we can do is we can go over here to where it says navigate. You got these little zoom buttons down here. I can zoom in, right? So I can get a little bit closer. And not that you want to see my big old face in there a whole bunch, but yeah, so there's that. Now, I'm not going to mess with a lot of these tools over here, but what I am going to mess around with is probably this one here where it says adjust. And then I might play around with filter and effect a little bit too. Some of them are free, some of them are not so free. So let's go to this one here where it says adjust. So I'll click on adjust right there. And when we go to adjust, I'm taking a good look at my picture. They're looking at my face. There's some basic things you can do. There's a button right here that says autofix. What happens when I click that? Does that. And it didn't do a whole lot. What you can see is if I turn it back off again, you'll see that what it did is it turned my vibrance up. And so, you can start with autofix and then kind of go from there. So we got all these different things that you can do with your color. So vibrance, saturation, temperature, tint, hue. Here's what you got to do. You've got to play around with these sliders. You've got to see what they do. Okay, so vibrance, if I turn that up, goes like that. If I turn it all the way down, if I turn vibrance all the way down, that's actually kind of cool looking. I'm all black and white, but some of the places are still in color in the background there. I can set this back to zero like it was before, or I can crank that up higher. I don't look natural there. I look really red. Saturation is another place where you can really mess around with stuff. Okay. So again, you turn saturation all the way down. That's going to make it almost look like a black and white photo. Temperature, this is called the white balance. So you can make yourself look super, super yellow or super, super blue. And we're going for what we want to look at something so that looks natural though, right? So we just kind of play around with these sliders. Like I said, typically when I'm doing stuff it's in Photoshop, I'll do auto first. I'll look at it and then I'll go through and say, okay, when I did auto, what did it do? Well, it did a bunch of stuff on here for me as far as this vibrant slider, saturation, and all that. And then I'm going to start to play around with those and see if I can make it look a little bit better the way I want it to look. So let's see what happens with tint. I'm not real happy with tint, but I'm going to turn that up just a little bit. There we go. And then there's hue. Hue really messes around. I'm going to put that back to zero. I do not want that to mess around there. And if I'm concerned at all, I can actually just type in a zero right there, press enter, and then get it back to there, right? So there we got the light areas right here. So we go brightness, That really blows me out, right? You can't see anything in the background. And you go this direction, obviously it's going to do the opposite there. Exposure, it's going to be very similar. Okay. And the only way you get to know if you like to use these things or not is by doing it. All right. So there's contrast. And you can see what it does to the different elements in the photo. The blacks makes the blacks even darker, makes them even lighter right there. Because every color is, or every single color is going to have some little bit of black in it there. There's the whites, highlights, and shadows. You can also do some toning if you wanted to. So if I wanted to throw a little color over the top of there, I could do that and then turn the toning up. And you put a little color tone over the top of it. I don't know that you want to do that, but that's just something you can do. One of the things I do like on here, actually, it's on the other one, so never mind. So you've got all those different things that you can do. And so now I can see, you know what, that looks a little bit better than it did before. Don't mess with this invert. It'll do some wild stuff. Okay, so I've got that. So I can turn off the adjustment layer. Okay, put that on there. Uh-oh, you know what I just did? I think I just undid everything. I'm learning, people. I'm learning. All right, so let's go back to autofix again. There we go. All right. So then I go back and do my little saturation thing that I did. Maybe turn that up a little bit. Maybe cool myself down a little bit. Okay. So do that. I'm realizing too that I can zoom in and out by using I have a mouse hooked up to my Chromebook by just zooming in and out with the mouse button. Okay. So now I can go over to filter over here, and you can see some of the things that filter can do. Really, what the thing that I like most on filter is a couple things. One of them is you can take your details and try to sharpen them up a little bit. If you go too far, you can see, like, if you just look at my face, I know, I'm sorry to do that to you. I'm going to zoom in even. If you take a look at this, and if I go to sharpen, you can really sharpen the details and make those things really stand out. I don't want to look that sharp. I like to be a little more smooth than that. So you can smooth things out. That doesn't do a whole lot. Let's see. Yeah, that didn't do all that much there. Clarity, you see what that does right there? Super clear. Probably leave that on 0, because if you put it down here, then it looks like you're behind stained glass of some kind there. So let's go here and just put that into 0. So blur the picture out. Grain, and these are effect things. Like if you really wanted to add something to this, like we don't want to add grain to a photo. Those are pretty good. The ones I like, though, the one I really like a lot is vignette. And vignette, let me zoom out a little bit here, is where I can now take this, and if I move it this way, notice how it's pulling everything to the center there. So if I go all the way there, really, it's a huge vignette. If I go this way, it can be white. Okay, so if I go to the left, I give myself a white vignette. If I go to the right, I give myself a black vignette. And I kind of like the black one there, right? So I'll do like that. And then I'll let you play around with some of these others. I don't want to include these on my selfie. I do like the vignette. I think you can definitely do that for your filter that's on there, okay? So let's say I'm done. I've done enough. I've adjusted my colors. I've added a little bit of a vignette on there. I'm happy with the way it looks. Let's see if there's anything else you can do. If you wanted to, at this point, you could go to your retouch button here, and you could actually go on here. And if you see something that's kind of a blemish of some kind, let's see if I've got something here on my face, which I probably do. Oops, actually, I can go like right here, and I can click on that, and it'll try to kind of get rid of that. Now, take a look at what it did to my eyebrow, right? So you got to be real careful with that if you don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to undo that. So Control Z that. There we go. So I undid that. And then I'll zoom back out. And I probably need to make this size a little bit smaller. I've got a little thing on my forehead right there. So if I click on that, boom, now that little thing is gone, right? So you can definitely do a little bit of that. So this is that heal and repair tool. And that's right down here on the retouch button. Okay, so I'll mess around with that a little bit. I don't think you care about all this. I mean, if you wanted to, if you really wanted to, you've got this dodge and burn. Dodge will make things so that you can lighten them. So if I wanted to make my eyes lighter, I could paint around that, make my eye a little bit lighter. Go like that, make my eyes a little bit lighter, right? That's something you can do too. We can talk more about that later on though. Okay, so there is, some of the things that I can do. And if I'm done and I'm ready to submit this, I'm going to click on the word save right there. And that's going to say, okay, there's your file name. Here's what your picture looks like now. Let's give it a good file name. You're going to be doing this 4 times today, okay? So I'm going to make this selfie. Oops, spell selfie correctly. Selfie 1. All right. File type. Let's just go ahead and leave it on JPEG for right now. For quality, I'm going to crank this up to 100. I want it to be the best it possibly can be. Okay. I want this to be high quality right there. I don't need to resize this. We already resized the image. So I'll click on, that's just fine. I'll click on download. And now it is saved, edited, looking good right there. So I can show this in a folder. I click on that button right there, and it should put it down here, right there. Selfie 1, right there, looking good, right? So that's how we go ahead and we take a picture, open it in Pixlr, do some basic adjustments, save it, rename it, and then get ready to do it again. Remember, on this assignment, we're asking you to do four different things, okay? 4 different photographs. So you should have selfie 1, 2, 3, 4. Make them different, all right? So have one that's inside your house, have one that's outside, have one, I don't know where you're gonna have them at, but just like do different things, right? Smile differently, maybe have a serious face, maybe have a funny face, but do something so that they look different from each other, okay? All right, so that's the entire thing right there. Good luck to you. And let me cut this off and